Hello students, in this session we will learn about symbiotic digestion in ruminants. Which animals are called as ruminants? Ruminants are those which basically depend upon plant material as their nutrition. They feed upon the plant product, and the food which is taken is fermented in a stomach which has got special features. Another important characteristic feature of ruminants is they can bring the food back to the mouth from the stomach and chew it again. This process of rechewing the cud, that is the food which is brought out, is called as rumination. The term ruminare in Latin means to chew over again. There are about 150 species, both domestic and wild, which are ruminants. To name a few, we can say sheep, goat, deer, cattle, buffalo, bison, giraffe, yak, antelope, which are ruminants. The characteristic feature of the ruminants is they have a special stomach consisting of 4 chambers used for the purpose of digestion. Ruminants belong to class Mammalia. There is a superorder Ungulata, under which there are 2 orders, Artiodactyla and Perissodactyla. Artiodactyla includes mammals like cattle, deer, etc., in which there is a special type of digestion happening in the stomach, and you call that as foregut fermentation. This type of digestion in ruminants happens in special designed stomach which consists of 4 chambers. So when they feed upon the plant material, the food from the mouth through the esophagus enters to the stomach. The first part of the stomach is the rumen, where the food is processed mechanically and also exposed to microbes like bacteria, which assists in breaking down the cellulose. Then it goes to the second chamber, reticulum. From the reticulum, the food can be brought back to the mouth. The process is called regurgitation. And in the mouth, it can be chewed over again, which is called as the chewing of the cud or remastication. And the more finely divided food will then pass to the reticulum, from where it goes to omasum and abomasum for final digestion. The second order under Ungulata is Perissodactyla, where a different process occurs called as hindgut fermentation. To name a few perissodactylans, it includes horses, rhinoceros, tapirs. They don't have a very efficient type of ruminant digestion. Here, the bacterial fermentation occurs in the intestine. In Artiodactyla, it was in the stomach, but here it's in the intestine. And the extraction of nutrients from plant material is less complete. You can look at the droppings of the horse versus the cow. The horse droppings are more intact, means the digestion is not fully complete. Whereas if you look at the cow, there, because of ruminant digestion, the plant material is finely broken, digested, and the droppings will be amorphous in nature. So, if you look at the digestive tract of the ruminants, in this session we are going to talk about ruminant digestion. So, the alimentary canal, if you look at the anatomy, consists of mouth, then in the buccal cavity, tongue, salivary glands, esophagus leading to the stomach, which has 4 chambers, rumen, reticulum, omasum and abomasum. which leads to small intestine where you have duodenum, jejunum and ileum, and then large intestine where you have cecum, colon and rectum. In addition to this, there are accessory glands which assist in digestion like the pancreas and the gallbladder. In this picture, you can look at the specially designed 4-chambered stomach. The esophagus leads into the first chamber of the stomach called as the rumen. Rumen is the largest chamber of the stomach. The second one is called as the reticulum. You can see there the biggest part leading from esophagus up to the back on the upper side is the rumen. Below that, just close to the esophagus, is the reticulum, which is the second chamber. Reticulum opens into the third chamber, omasum, that is the smallest chamber, which in turn leads into abomasum, which is the last chamber of the stomach. If you look at the dentition of the ruminants, they have a special type of dentition. Here, in the upper jaw, incisors are absent. So, when these animals chew, they chew the food against the palate in the front because incisors are absent in the upper jaw. Canines are absent in both the jaws. Molars are very well developed. They are very strong, which helps in chewing the cud and also masticating the plant material. So with the help of the sharp incisors and large molars, the ruminants will bite and chew the grass. They also have very well developed jaw muscles, and all of them will help in breaking the food material and taking it into the next part of the digestive system with the help of the saliva. Saliva will help in chewing and swallowing, plus saliva also has got enzymes which helps in breaking fats with the help of salivary lipase and breaking starch with the help of salivary amylase. Saliva has one another important function, that is, it will produce sodium bicarbonate, and the amount of production of saliva is about 100 to 150 liters per day. Such quantity of saliva is released which will try to buffer the pH level in the reticulum and rumen, because in reticulum and rumen the microbial fermentation will happen and the pH will try to drop down. So in order to bring it back to the normal state, the saliva will help in buffering the pH of the reticulum and the rumen. Now the feed will mix with the saliva, which contains sodium, potassium, phosphate, bicarbonate ions, and then it is taken on to the next part, that is the esophagus. Through the esophagus, it enters into the stomach. When the ruminants eat, they eat very rapidly and they swallow it immediately without much chewing, because these herbivorous animals have a threat of being eaten by the predators. So to avoid that, they swallow the food and take it to the stomach through the esophagus. The esophagus will function bidirectionally, means the food can go from the mouth to the stomach and also it can come back from the stomach to the mouth. So when it comes back from the stomach to the mouth, you call that as the cud. The food material is called as the cud, which is regurgitated. Again, when these ruminants are leisurely sitting, they bring this process of regurgitation and they chew over the food very leisurely. After chewing over the food, the solid portion will be taken to the rumen for fermentation and the liquid portion will go to reticulum, from where it goes to omasum and abomasum. The solid portion of the food will remain in the rumen for about 48 hours. Here, the microbes will act upon the plant material they have the enzymes which will help in breaking down the cellulose. Cellulose is a composition present in the cell wall of the plant material. So because of this cellulose digesting enzymes produced by the microbes, the ruminants are capable of feeding upon the raw plant material, which we cannot do so because we do not have the enzyme cellulase. So in this process, vitamins, proteins and other organic acids which are released because of this microbial action will be absorbed. The coarse plant material, which is the plant material which has been broken down, and that broken down material will become soft, and these soft chunks is called as the cud, and it is this cud which is regurgitated and chewed upon, which is a special feature of the ruminants. After chewing upon, it is passed into the reticulum. If you look at the stomach of the ruminants, it occupies about 75% of the space in the abdominal cavity. If you look at the cow, for example, the abdominal region is greatly extended, and on the left side the entire abdominal cavity is occupied by the stomach, and also on the right side significant amount of the space is occupied by the stomach. If you look at the rumen and the reticulum, both of them together will constitute 84% of the total stomach. Omasum will be about 12% and abomasum will be 4% of the entire volume of the stomach, of which the rumen is the largest compartment and can hold up to 40 gallons of water. Reticulum can hold up to 5 gallons. The rumen and reticulum are almost similar in function, and also they are simply separated just by one muscular fold. So sometimes the rumen and reticulum together are called as reticulorumen because of their similar function. Abomasum and omasum can hold up to 15 and 7 gallons respectively. The reticulorumen characteristic feature of this part of the stomach is they host microbes. These microbes will help in fermentation of the food. The microbes basically includes bacteria. Most of them are bacteria. You find a few protozoans and fungi. Some of the microbes present in the ruminant stomach is Ruminococcus, Ruminoalbus, Ruminoflavifaciens, Streptococcus bovis, Escherichia, Bacteroids, Succinogenes, Fibrobacter, Methanogens, Clostridium, Succini vibrio, Ruminobacter, Butyri vibrio fibri solvens, Chytridiomycetes. These are some of the microbes which are present in the stomach of the ruminants, having a symbiotic association with the ruminants, where both of them are in symbiotic association, both of them are benefited and neither of them are harmed. The bacteria will find shelter and it gets food, and the ruminants will get their plant material digested because of the enzyme secreted by the microbes. When a calf is born, a newborn calf will get these microbes when they consume the feces of other organisms accidentally or through the airborne droplets. These microbes are contracted by the newborn calf. These microbes will help in the process of fermentation, where they break down the cell wall of the plant and convert the cellulose into carbohydrate fractions like pyruvic acid, which is further metabolized to produce volatile fatty acids. These fatty acids can be used as energy. Some of the fatty acids which are released because of this process of metabolism is acetate, which will be used for fat synthesis. Then you have propionate, then you have butyrate. So these are some of the volatile fatty acids which are the end products of the microbial fermentation, which can be used as energy resource. The first part of the ruminant stomach is called as the rumen or paunch. Here, this is the biggest chamber of the stomach. If you look at the lining of the rumen, it has got number of papillae. These papillae will increase the surface area and hence increase the surface area for absorption. The papillae will divide the chamber into number of muscular regions. So this papillae will act like muscular pillars and divide the rumen into many chambers. The one present on the upper side is the dorsal chamber, one on the lower side is the ventral chamber, one at the back is called as the caudo-dorsal, one on the sides is called as caudo-ventral sacs. So these are divided with the help of the papillae in the rumen. So in the rumen, fermentation will happen, hence it is called as fermentation vat. So here the microbes which are having a symbiotic association with the ruminants will break the plant material in which about 50 to 65% of the starch and soluble sugar will be digested. They will break cellulose, which is a complex starch. They can also synthesize protein from non-protein nitrogen. They can also synthesize some vitamins which belong to the B group and vitamin K. The pH in the rumen will be between 6.5 to 6.8, and the environment in the rumen is anaerobic, where free oxygen is not available, and this will favor the fermentation process by microbes. So during this metabolic activity brought about by the ruminants, some gases are released like carbon dioxide, methane and hydrogen sulfide, and these gases will escape from the rumen via esophagus through the mouth. The process of the release of these gases is called as belching. Belching is very important. If belching does not happen and if these gases are trapped in the stomach, it can be fatal to the animal. So the belching is the process of releasing carbon dioxide, methane and hydrogen sulfide. Here you can see a picture of the inner structural details of rumen, where the wall is produced into number of papillae. This is the picture of a 8-week-old calf. You can look at the interior lining of the rumen, which is folded into number of papillae. The second part of the ruminant stomach is reticulum. It is called as honeycomb because if you look at the lining, it has many honeycomb cell-like structures. It is present below and in front of the rumen. The food particles can flow freely between the reticulum and the rumen. The smaller digester particles which is formed in the rumen will go to the reticulum and then into the third one, omasum. The larger particles will remain in the rumen for further digestion. Here you can see the picture of a 8-year-old calf showing the internal structure of the reticulum and observe the honeycomb cell-like pattern on the interior lining. The third part of the stomach is omasum. Omasum is somewhat spherical in shape. It is connected to the reticulum by a short tunnel-like structure. Omasum is called as many piles, or it is also called as butcher's Bible, because if you look at the inner wall, it is made up of many folds or leaf-like structure which resembles the pages of a book. It looks like when you open a book how you can see the pages. So like that, the inner lining of omasum is folded and it resembles the pages of a book. and these folds will increase the surface area in turn to absorb the nutrients. So what happens in omasum is water absorption, and cattle have a very well developed and large omasum. Here in this picture you can see the interior lining of the omasum where it is folded, and the folds will resemble the pages of a book. The fourth part of the stomach is the abomasum, which is also called as the true stomach, which can be compared to the stomach of all other mammals, and it is concerned with the digestion. First part of the digestion will happen in the buccal cavity, where some carbohydrates and proteins are broken. No, carbohydrates and fats are broken. The protein digestion will start in the stomach. So for which hydrochloric acid is produced, and the enzyme pepsin, which will break the proteins, is produced, and this digestion will happen in the abomasum. From abomasum, the food will pass on to the intestine, and when it goes to the intestine, it will receive the digestive enzymes from the pancreas, which contains pancreatic lipase. So in the abomasum is preparing the proteins, means it is breaking down the proteins into smaller particles which can be taken to the next part, that is the small intestine, where final digestion will happen followed by absorption. The pH in abomasum ranges from 3.5 to 4, which is acidic in nature. So here there are special cells called as chief cells which will secrete mucus. And the function of this mucus is to form a coating on the inner wall of the abomasum so that it will not be damaged by the action of the hydrochloric acid. Then once the digestion is completed in all these 4 chambers, the food will pass on to the next chamber, that is the next part of the digestive system, that is small intestine. So some amount of absorption will happen in the 4-chambered stomach. Then the food enters into the small intestine. Here the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats is completed. Small intestine is a tubular structure and measuring about 150 feet long and having 20-gallon capacity. Here the food which is coming from the stomach, the digesta, will mix with the secretions of the pancreas and liver, and when this happens, the secretions of the pancreas and liver will try to increase the pH from 2.5 to 3, which was there in the stomach, to 7 or 8, because the enzymes present in the intestine require this range of pH between 7 and 8. So the secretions of the liver and pancreas will help in elevating the pH of the small intestine. Bile is released from the gallbladder. It comes to the first part of the small intestine, duodenum, and this will help in digestion. If you look at the wall of the small intestine, it is produced into finger-like structures called as villi. The villi will increase the surface area which is required for absorption. So throughout the digestive system there is the muscular wall, and the contraction of this muscular wall will help in mixing the digesta thoroughly so that proper chemical reactions will happen, and also will assist in moving the digesta from one part to the next part of the digestive tract. The next part is the large intestine, where you have the cecum, colon and rectum. Basically, absorption of water will happen in the large intestine. Cecum is a blind pouch. So the first part of the large intestine, there is a small sac-like structure which ends without any opening. So it's called as a blind pouch. It is about 3 feet long with 2-gallon capacity. Its exact function is not well understood. In cattle, it serves little function, whereas in Perissodactyla, it plays a role in digestion. So, cecum doesn't play a major role in ruminants. It plays some role in Perissodactylans where foregut fermentation will happen. The food from the cecum will pass on to the colon, that is the next part of the large intestine, where water absorption will happen, and then it passes to the last part, rectum, where the undigested food material will be excreted from the rectum to the outside in the form of feces or the droppings. So, this is about how the digestion will happen in the ruminants. If you look at the sources of protein which the cattle will get, first thing is it gets it from the feed what it consumes. That is the first primary source. Apart from that, the microbes which are present in the ruminants will also help in synthesis of proteins as well as vitamins. These microbes will make use of inorganic nitrogen and ammonium salts, and it will convert this into proteins. So, a part of the protein synthesis is through the microbes. And if the protein content of the food is insufficient, then what happens? The urea, which is a byproduct of protein digestion, will be reabsorbed by the rumen, and here it will be converted to carbon dioxide and ammonia, and this ammonia will be used for the synthesis of proteins. This is another way of synthesizing proteins. So, even if the cattle doesn't have enough protein, then they will reuse the urea, break it down to carbon dioxide and ammonia, and use the ammonia to synthesize the protein. And apart from that, what happens every day? About 69% of the microorganisms from the rumen will be washed into the abomasum because of the contractions of the digestive system, and these microbes will be digested by the ruminants like other proteins, and this also will be a source of protein for the cattle. But the microbes continuously multiply and they keep up their number in the rumen and the reticulum, and 69% of them every day will be washed away into the abomasum and consumed as protein source. So, the cattle will get protein from the feed. Microbes will also help in the synthesis of the protein. Urea can be converted to ammonia, and that can be used for the synthesis of protein, as well as microbes themselves will be digested and the cattle get proteins from the digestion of the microbes. So, with this we have completed the symbiotic digestion in ruminants. So, the points what you have to remember here is the ruminants have a symbiotic association with the microbes. The microbes will help in breaking down the cellulose of the plant material, producing the enzyme cellulase. Then the microbes will also help in synthesis of proteins, in the synthesis of vitamins. They also provide the protein source for the cattle. These are the benefits from the microbes to the ruminants, and the ruminants will provide shelter and food for the microbes. Thus, in association with the microbes, the ruminants will efficiently feed upon the plant material and obtain the nutrition. So, with this we are completing the